welcome to another episode of 4TimsWeekly podcast. We're back ahead of Celtic's first competitive game of the new season under Big Ange, and obviously we're going to look ahead to the big game that's around the corner against Midtyland. Tony, we'll just get right in and kick off with you. We've had a couple of games now against sort of lower level English opposition, a couple of wins against Sheffield Wednesday and Charlton before drawing with Bristol City, and then we've had a 1-0 defeat to Preston. I mean, granted, they're games friendlies, try to get a bit of fitness in the leg, a couple of players and things like that. How do you feel getting into the game on Tuesday?
Same as I always feel going into Champions League qualifiers. We're completely unprepared. I mean, we've got the likes of Ralston potentially starting. Now, absolutely no harm to that boy. No doubt tries his best, but he's not good enough to play for Celtic, let alone a Champions League qualifier. I think it's a fucking disgrace, to be honest, how underprepared we are once again getting into these massive games that can bring so much finance and so many good teams to Celtic Park and improve the club. I mean, it's a competition everybody wants to play in, and we seem hell-bent and no getting into it every year. And if you look over the last decade, we've had so many free hits at it against utter shite, and we've blown it. And I think the way it's looking, we're going to do it again. I don't want to be too negative, but it's very difficult when you look at the back line we could be getting into this game with. I mean, we've got the new guy, Urigai, you've got Welsh, and you've got Greg Taylor and Ralston. I mean, that's just simply not good enough. I feel sorry for the manager. If we lose on Tuesday, irrespective if it's 6-0 or 1-0, I'll not be placing any blame on him. His hands are tied. He's been fucking... I think he's probably as fed up as the rest is. And I think if things don't go our way, the attention should be turned on the board and getting rid of them as soon as possible. It probably already is on that, the new as well. But I can't believe it, how slow they've been to get signings in. I know these take a lot of time, but should have been done a lot quicker. So I would go with that. I think we could beat That's a fucking hell of a negative way to start, but I can't see how we beat them. I'm assuming they can't be as unprepared as us. There's absolutely no way about it. But this is a short and sweet one for me on my way back to the pub to get pissed. So that's me starting to drink the new for Tuesday. I think I'm going to need it. But I think it's just the usual for us. But I feel sorry for the manager. The board are useless, and happy days. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.
Just a short one for Tony this week. It was a bit short on time. Danny, I'll come to you. I mean, Tony summed up a lot of what we've been talking about for the past week, probably in particular ahead of obviously competitive football coming back. It's just feels like you watch the same movie over and over again, and I'm just waiting on the same excuses about how difficult it is to make today business and all the rest of it. But are we really about to go into another qualifier again? Which, let's be honest, I've seen people try to play it off as if Celtic are sitting on fucking millions. Like, Celtic have struggled through the pandemic just as much as every other team has. I mean, it's affecting some of the biggest clubs in the world. Like, it's obviously going to affect us. So money is vital. That comes for getting into European competition. Are we really about to walk into this game with Anthony Ralston, guy that I don't even think he's good enough for the majority of teams in the Scottish Premier League at right back? And just, is that what's about to happen before the same excuses as always get wheeled out?
Aye, we're woefully underprepared this time, and it all harks back to the waiting game that they played with Eddie Howe all through April and May. I don't think they fell on Ange Postecoglou. I know we've spoken about this before, but it was obviously quite clear that he was some sort of plan B. So they should have pulled the trigger on that a good 5-6 weeks before they did. But he's been here long enough now, and obviously he's made a few signings, and doesn't look like any of them are... I don't know, I've never seen much of the game yesterday. I was out in the drink in Edinburgh, but I don't know how the Israeli boy got on, but it looks to me like it's a kind of throwing together 11 for the next couple of weeks, and maybe you can get away with that at other clubs, but Celtic for the last, since when, 10-15 years, our most important games of the season come in July, so we can't afford to throw 5-6 boys that shouldn't be there into the team, but I actually think this time there's about 7 or 8 that shouldn't be there, so it's obviously going to be very difficult. Seeing Midtyland get beat the other night, I don't think they're any good. Rangers, I remember last year, 2 years ago, thinking they were going to beat Rangers, and Rangers demolished them over 2 legs, and obviously quite clearly they're in a better state than us at the minute, but I'd still know that I think Celtic will go through. I think it'll be very difficult, but I don't think we'll necessarily get beat like Tony. I think we've got a good chance, even though it's a thrown together 11, but we said it last month, it's a complete fluke if we get into the Champions League now, because they've been so underprepared, and Tony's quite right. I think even the pressure will come on Postecoglou if we don't win. If we don't get to the Champions League, he'll be under pressure straight away, the usual. The media have already started going for him. I've seen more pictures of Postecoglou with his head in his hands in 6 weeks than I've seen of another manager who has won 1 trophy in 3 years. But we just need to hope that he gets time to build a team in the league, but just it doesn't fill you with confidence that into, you know, when we won the Invincible treble and that, if you'd have said 4 years later you'd be getting into the team with Welsh and Ralston at the back, you'd probably think, well, you know, that's a good thing because it shows that Rodgers is bringing through young talent. You know, like Stephen Welsh is our most senior centre-back at this moment in time that's available because Ayer's obviously away or about to go or whatever. Julian's injured and it will be him, probably be Welsh and Beaton or something. Is he going to throw the Urugide boy in? You never know, but I mean, no, I don't think the boy Starfelt, who probably will be signing, can play, but it just we just don't give ourselves a chance to qualify for the Champions League. And when we harp on about how important it is to get to the Champions League in terms of money, and you know, for the fans it's at least 3 good nights out at home, and for those that go away it's 3 good trips away. We never ever go in prepared. You know, we never ever go in with the mentality that, right, but you know, speculate to accumulate, right? You know, because you can never guarantee qualification, but you know, you could say, right, we're going to spend this money to give us the best chance. I mean, even in Rodgers' first year, we had to beat Astana to sign Scott Sinclair apparently, and then in the second season, you know, we went into that with Sinclair and Forrest being put up front as makeshift strikers. So it's no surprise that we're in this state again, Andy, but it's just really annoying because we keep getting told about how we need to get behind the manager, and you know, you just need to get behind him and you just try to build something. Well, you need to, the board need to help him build something. It's not going to happen itself. And I know in the last week we've made moves on signings and stuff, but 2 or 3 weeks too late, I'm afraid. But we're not out it. We're not out Europe or the Champions League yet. We've still got a chance, but you just like to think they would have made these things 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I mean, absolutely. I was going to actually touch on the Rodgers and Sinclair deal, like you say, that Astana. It's been reported a fair bit now that we had to win that game for that to happen, and it's always sort of seemed to be that we'll never ever take a chance, or we'll never sort of spend and bring somebody in prior to these games, and it's just going to be the same old story. I feel that regardless whether it's this round or the next round or whatever it may be, it's going to be the same story that this team needs major investment, and not just for getting to Europe, it needs investment to do anything in this league because we're far from good enough. There's fucking diddy mobs in our league now who'd be looking at our defence saying, I fancy scoring against these, and I fancy scoring more than one against them, certainly. Obviously Danny touched on, it's even the boys who we have signed, there's chances they're not going to be able to play, there's registration periods, a lot of them won't even speak English, and they'll probably never the Japanese boy, or again don't think he can play, but it's a case of we're signing these guys so late that we really give ourselves the least possible opportunity to have success. And I don't know, do you feel, I mean, Danny talked again about the photos we've seen of Ange with his head in his horns, and I'd be the same watching some of your fucking footballers try and play the game. Do you think that there's a chance we'll see more of the photos when we're failing our own sword again?
It wouldn't surprise me if we've seen more of the photos, but at the same point, as Danny said, like, the anger probably won't be directed towards Ange unless he does something stupid like Ala Lennon last season where he didn't play a striker or something like that. Like, that's the only way you could sort of put the blame on Postecoglou if we do happen to lose on Tuesday or just over the course of the tie, because although we've been speaking for months, pretty much ever since it was apparent we weren't going to win the league, that the Champions League route would be much harder just because of the teams we'd face. Don't let the Celtic board get away with that fact, because the thing is that they made it 10 times harder for us to qualify with the absolute lack of preparation, as Joseph says. Like, Andrew was appointed on June the 10th. It's now the 18th of July as we're recording. That's a month and a half, and you're looking and you're saying, you might have a boy like Urugide or, I don't know, Liam Shaw, that who's a new signing that might be in the starting lineup, but you've sort of been forced into that situation by the fact that you're now only signing guys like, talking about Starfelt, the all accounts it will be done, but it might come too late for our Champions League hopes. You've got Japanese boy Israeli who have just literally, I don't think there's any chance that the Japanese boy will play on Tuesday, but the Israeli boy played. I thought he was alright when he came on against Preston. Was a bit lively, but all the talk, like, you've heard people talk about our Colts team and how they're going to do against the Lowland League teams. There's a good chance you're going to have a few of these boys playing on Tuesday. Like that's like I think we've played alright in pre-season. You've seen sort of small changes from Ange and like sort of a bit more tempo in the team, but you've seen guys step up like Montgomery, Dembele, Barry Coffey, and Hilda and that. But if you had to be blunt about it, they shouldn't have been near the first team. Like, they're there by necessity because we've got barely a first squad left. Like, I know Don Mackay didn't start till July 1st, but he's been there since April. He'll have seen the size of the task that was needed, and the fact that we're bringing most of these multi-million pound signings in well after a pre-season doesn't really stand us in good stead. And I sort of agree with what I think it was Danny says. Like, our best hope is probably, I don't think Midtyland are much to be feared, and it might just be two poor teams going at it, and then it's just a case of can we come out on top in it. And definitely you've still got quality in the team, but as you said, having Stephen Welsh as your senior centre back just isn't where you want to be. The fact that the Christopher Ayer saga is still going on is just unbelievable. Like, he's clearly making it known to people that he knows, and you've seen various podcasts and journalists seem to have a way in with Ayer coming out and saying that he's pretty furious about the way it's been handled. But that's a bit of a lack of professionalism from probably Ayer and Celtic, because if Celtic have promised him these things and then he's no obviously happy with the way it's been handled, and now you're probably going in when if the deal's not been done, you would be hoping he would have played on Tuesday, but obviously it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Like, that's just another thing that's sort of distracting on the sidelines. Obviously Bolingoli, who appeared yesterday against Preston for the first time since obviously last season, and I mean, a lot of people didn't think they'd see Bolingoli, but he's there, and I don't know, the whole thing's an absolute nightmare. And then even if we were to go through, I was reading on Twitter just before we come on air that the next round, if we somehow get past Midtyland, you've got Genk, Spartak Moscow, the winner of PSV Galatasaray, the winner of Sparta Prague v Rapid Vienna. It just seems to be a stay of execution if you do get through. Like, that, like, when you come up against, if you were to come up against one of these sort of teams, then you could maybe not let the board away with it, but you expect more. But I'm sick of, I think people still sort of think back to Copenhagen and think because we get beat there that Midtyland won't be too bad a team, but we should have beat Copenhagen. We should have had the tie done the first 30 minutes earlier, so I don't really think that we should be getting into this expecting defeat. But unfortunately, the way we have been set up, I think most fans do. And it's really poor because, like, I know the Eddie Howe circus was an absolute sideshow that we didn't need, and as you said, that everything relates back to how long we waited on that. But the fact that Ange's been in there for a month and a half and he was definitely Don Mackay's man, the fact that we're going in there this 2 days before the Midtyland qualifier with an absolute lack of a team is just, it's unbelievable. And I know in his post-match interview on Premier Sports and with Celtic TV, Ange was quite open about how we still need new bodies in, so I think he'll be frustrated as well. And I think everybody's got that sort of worry that he's walked out on boards before if he doesn't feel like he's been back. So I think they both have got to watch in that aspect as well, because more so than ever with any Celtic manager, I think there's a possibility that he could just decide to leave at any given moment, Andy.
See, the thing is, now, we spoke about this earlier on the day before we came on, and I see if, obviously, but what we all suspect is going on because we've all experienced Celtic for long enough and none of us are stupid enough to believe otherwise. And if it does go wrong and Ange did walk, I wouldn't blame him one bit. I'd have no animosity towards the guy because he's only tarnishing his own reputation for the longer he allows that to go on. It's just a fucking disgrace. Like, we could walk into a game here, let's be honest, like, as good as the boy that Liam Shaw might end up, he wasn't signed to be in playing a fucking vital qualifier for Celtic in the first team and putting all these hopes on a young boy like that. The big centre half, I don't believe he was signed for that either. These are the type of projects that Celtic sign for the future. You're putting these two in a team, and see if you had a team that was full of obviously first teamers, guys who were experienced, a really solid unit. Maybe imagine you come after winning the league and you put one or two in. That's absolutely fine, but you're putting them in again with potentially the boy Montgomery playing, potentially Ralston at right back, Welsh at centre half. That is so far away from being good enough. You're doing potential damage to careers when you do that, and that's the corner we've backed ourselves into, and we're forcing Ange to play these cards because that's all he's got. He doesn't have anything else. And bringing boys in after that, what's the point? Like, the game's done at that point. It's, do you know what I mean? Like, if we get knocked out and then start signing boys for positions that we need, Midtyland are away with blackjack. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's a waste of time at that point. And it's so frustrating to see that, like, we're just riddled with inexperienced young boys and then players who were deemed not good enough for Celtic. But the mismanagement and the mishandling of the top to bottom has led us to exactly where we are in this position. It's our own doing. We've got nobody to blame bar ourselves. Danny, I don't know if I don't even know what to say. I don't even know who I think's going to play. Obviously, I don't think there's any chance really of Ayer playing. I know it's happened before. We've said to players, listen, can you play this one and then go? And then obviously it's just happened with the Japanese boy that he played a game and then and when it was well documented he was coming in managed again. I don't think that's going to happen with Ayer, where he sort of geezes that one game, given how we've treated him. But do you think there's any chance of Edouard playing? Obviously, he's played, I think he's probably just about totted up a full 90 minutes of the couple of games that he's featured. Do you think there's any chance that he plays? Because I still get the feeling that he's probably on the way out as well.
Yeah, I think the way that the team's been playing, or the way Ange just set him up, I think it's set up for a Yeti to start on Tuesday. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Edouard come off the bench if he's needed. But I don't think Ayer will play. I don't think Ayer will kick a ball for Celtic again. In fact, I think he'll probably, his move will be announced in the next day or two, I'd imagine. The way they line up will probably, I mean, hopefully I would go Barkas. Bain just doesn't fill me with any confidence. I know Barkas has never had a great start, but I'd like to see what, I know it's not a full Celtic Park, but with 9,000 fans making a bit of noise could do for his confidence. A back four, or do you play Origidi at right back and bring Welsh but and play Beaton and then Taylor? I don't know. Midfield, I think probably pick, you've got McGregor and then, I don't know, I'm struggling. Turnbull, but then do you bring Christie in, because Christie's hardly featured, and when he has featured he's not been great. Is Forrest fit? Is he isolating? I don't know. Do you throw the Israeli boy in it? I don't like getting into the first game of the season and no knowing who's going to play, because you don't know who's going to fill in this week. But having said that, I watched the game against Bristol City the other night, and I thought that for at least an hour, I thought there was a lot of good play, not by any stretch world beaters, but I thought it was a clear message that Andrew was trying to get across to the team, and they were taking it on board. There was some nice kind of one-touch passing round about the midfield, and Yeti, and I thought, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, and I thought Taylor had a really good game on Wednesday night, and he was everywhere and closing down and running about, and obviously lacks quality on the ball, which is a big detractor. But I thought in the system he looked quite good, and Yeti was everywhere as well. I was quite impressed by Yeti, but there's an obvious lack of quality in the team, and I think, I mean, as I didn't see yesterday, but going by what everybody's been saying, it was pretty poor, and Angie himself said that it wasn't very good. So there's obviously a lack of quality there. The boy Furuhashi, who's, I mean, I watched his video the other day, and I think he looks the part. I mean, left foot, right foot, either. It's not a problem with him. I mean, there's a 12-minute video of him scoring goals, and then after it, somebody said he's a winger, so he can play anywhere across the front line. So I don't know what way Ange's going to line up. If it's a kind of 4-3-3, I think it probably will be. But he obviously wants players that are comfortable playing in a number of positions, because I think the boy Abada can play left or right. So that's a good, or a number 10. So he's obviously wanting the kind of fluid players, which is exciting. But it should be exciting. No, I think the boy Starfelt's a big centre half, but you can't judge him on what happens in the next two games. You need to give him. He's getting flung into it because the Champions League qualifiers come in, and then the league games are starting fucking fast as well. And if we were to go out next week, say the pressure's just there for the media, and their usual cronies like Sutton and that will be getting wired. And I know Sutton's actually come out and said he should be given time and not getting into Champions League, shouldn't, but the pressure shouldn't keep on him. But we'll actually see how Sutton reacts if Celtic do go to the Champions League next week. But after that kind of thing, he's got to go to Ibrox at the end of August, which it's convenient, but you need to give him time to build. It looks like he's finally getting signings, but the thing about the Furuhashi thing, I don't even think, if that is his name, sorry if I butchered it, but I don't even think Celtic would have announced that now. I think they get caught out by the fact that VCL Kobe mob done it at 3 a.m. Celtic probably get caught out by that, because what it'd be like, it'd be set to sign and then inches closer and then closes in on move, and then there'd be a picture of him next week flying into Glasgow or something. But if people kept saying, it's great to see he's there about a business that nobody knew about and it was efficient and kind of disaster free, but then you think, if it was that easy, why did they not do it fucking 3 weeks ago? And he could be playing in what are our most important games. But if Darren's right, that when he said that, talking about don't let the board get away with it if it goes wrong, he's right. And I think that they're probably, if we're waving the white flag to Europe this year, then they better make sure they win the league, because this automatic Champions League spot is and this is the thing, the league's the bread and butter, but the Champions League spot's the most important thing. It makes it even more important than last year's title, because if we did 10 in a row last season, right, it's great. We've got the bragging rights for all eternity, right, it's great. But in a football sense, if they were to win the league this year and get the 40 million guaranteed pot, it's as good as they're on level terms with. So this, even the disaster that last year was, this year just becomes so important, and maybe Europe will get in the way with that than now, but at the end of the day, we need to be in the Champions League. That's where the club see themselves, that's where the fans want to be. But I'm waffling on because I'm thinking about dreading this conference thing that's come out, and us playing at like 4 o'clock on a Thursday in places that nobody's heard of and still getting fucking put out in the group stages. Just, you need to judge them on what happens in the league and domestically this season anyway. But and I don't mean to detract. It'd be a great achievement to get a Champions League, but the way things are going now, I think it'd be a total fluke.
To put vivid images in my mind there, I say like playing away in Bosnia on a 4 o'clock on a Thursday and getting pumped 2-0 or something, and then blaming every cunt else. Dan, there's obviously been a lot made of certain players, and I know Ange came out the other day, might be the day actually, and he was talking about, obviously, I think it was a question on Aya, and he was saying obviously it's no players who are gone isn't anything that he's really concerned with. He just wants to obviously work with the players who are going to be here. Now, listen, he's always been one that has sort of spotted opinion on this pod and across the Celtic support. But in Sham's back with Celtic now, and as far as I've seen, I can't remember the exact quote, but for what I gather, it was that he spoke with Sham, who wanted to come back to Celtic and wanted to make an impression. Now, obviously, people can look into that and how he done at Marseille as much as they like, but do you think that if Ange is willing to bring him back for one, do you think there's any possibility he could feature in any way in these games? And do you think that fans will take to that if Ange backs him? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who really don't like him.
With the Encham one, I think, if you want to be blunt about it, I think Encham's playing to save his career, not just his Celtic career. He's had pretty much, 2 or 3 terrible seasons, in terms of trying to get consistency. I know the back end of 9 in a row from December to February was pretty good, but apart from that, he's been very disappointing. This is a guy who only a few years ago you were looking at 15 to 20 million you were thinking you were going to get from a Porto or somebody, but his career trajectory's just completely took a nosedive. But the thing is, Andy, see, you're right, a lot of Celtic fans don't rate Encham. Some think he's lazy, some think he's got a bad attitude, but then there's people, I know a few years on the pod, really like him. Maybe we've let that blinker us too much as well. But the only way Encham can sort of impress Ange and get the fans back on side, just play. Just play. Put your all in, and make yourself too good to be on the bench or to be sitting in the stand. That's the only way. Even for guys like Bolingoli, I know some Celtic fans won't ever really take to him again, but if he's there, just the only thing you can sort of do as a professional football player is play your way into the team and make sure that you're too good to get dropped. And I always think back to the Beata situation in AEK Athens, where Rodgers sort of threw him under the bus, and it was made out that Beata was refusing to play, etc. But Beata just sort of kept his head down, definitely our best centre back that season, and then walked away in a free to Hertha Berlin. So I think by the end of that season, a lot of Celtic fans were back on side with him. The only football fans are fickle unless you've got a really legitimate reason to dislike somebody. The second they start turning in performances, scoring goals, etc., then you will get back on side, because of course you want your team to do well, and if they're part of it. But in terms of the ones that are there, I think Aya seems to have threw the toys at the pram a bit and has made it quite public that they won't be playing for Celtic again. But just when you were speaking to Danny about Edward, I think from what I've heard, I don't think Edward would turn down a move if Celtic accepted a bid, but I don't think he's really had much to say about definitely wanting to leave. And you know what, it makes suit somebody like Edward to just sort of try and get a good season in, as much as he probably wasn't up to his top form. He still finished the league's top scorer last season. He'll be looking to add on to that, and then if he walks away at the end of the season on a free, he'll be able to command a hefty signing on fee. Maybe that will suit him. I think there's a good chance he will play on Tuesday, and you know what, he's probably one of the best, if not the best player at the club. So if he's available, Ange has to select him. And I think all these sort of, I know Ange has probably given everybody a fresh start and a clean slate, but I don't think the Celtic fans will be back on side with quite a lot of them, because as much as everybody wants the team to get back on the winning track, last season was terrible, so you can't just sort of say, oh, it's a new season, let's not remember what happened. They've got a lot of making up to the support, and hopefully with support back in the grounds, that will be able to be sort of repaid, and the only way you can do that is by winning. But Andy, I just wanted to ask you, just on what you were saying about Edward starting, how would you feel if he maybe played out in the left? Obviously he's done it before for Celtic. I think that seemed like I was reading earlier that Forrest and Mikey Johnston are definitely out, so I just wondered whether that would be an option, because Ajeti seems to be the preferred striker at the moment, so maybe Edward out in the left.
I've always, particularly obviously when Dembele was here, and we've spoken a number of times about Edward, and listen, I think I think he can play in both positions, but it's something that he's at his best when he's able to run at players. That the way I see him, and that's how I find him most effective. And as you said, Johnston for a shooting. I don't know. I never actually caught up with how bad the injury to Dembele was. Who again, somebody else I seen said he was enjoying his football again, and Ange had positive comments to say about him, and he thinks that the way we're going to play will suit that boy, and I pray to God that it does, because he had all the potential in the world. And I think that it's certainly something I would assume if Edward heeds in it and Ange is obviously looking to pick his best team, that given who will be available, that's probably one of the better options that we can pick. But ultimately we don't know, and again, how fit is Edward? As I mentioned, I think he featured in 3 of the games, if I remember correctly, but I don't even think cumulatively that came to 90 minutes together. So it's hard to say, but I'm probably the opinion of Bathies. I think he's got to feature, as long as it's not an Ayer type situation where it's just a non-starter. I think he's got to. The game's too big. Well, both the legs will be too big, but we need the best players that we have available and willing to pull on that jersey and play for the club. And because we need them on that park, because we're riddled with inexperience, we're riddled with youth, and we're riddled with a lot of players that just aren't good enough to be at Celtic, and that's down to ourselves. So the ones who are, and the ones who have got ability and who have had success, then they need to be playing and featuring them in some way. But again, I really do like Ange, and I do believe in him, and I think that he can have success at Celtic. I know he can, but my fear is just that even if it doesn't go the way that we want, I mean, you've already got fucking Muppets who, just because they've never heard that there's football played on the other side of the world, they think that everybody else is shite. But the mere saying amongst us, my worry is that obviously it doesn't go the way that we want it to go, and that's them right on his back, as if it's his fault that we're in this position, completely ignoring the fact that we waited around in Eddie Howe for fuck knows how long. We point blank fucked about football players. We've not built on anything. We've really just regressed and done absolutely fuck all about it, and then acted surprised when it blew up in my face, which is in typical Celtic style, which was just a disgrace, really. But Danny, do you think there's any danger? Obviously, listen, I'm the same as you. I think we could actually sneak through this tie, given I don't think Midtjylland are a great side. I think there's a couple of decent players who I've always liked, that Evander, the Brazilian boy that plays in the midfield, and obviously we know Sviatchenko. And then there's the boy Seasto that used to play with Celta Vigo, who I think's alright. If he's running at a Diddy at fullback, I reckon he'd have a bit of joy, which we'll likely have at fullback. But I do think all in all we should have enough quality with Turnbull and McGregor, and hopefully Edward if he features. And I hope we do have enough quality to sort of get us out of the line. But do you think if the worst came to worse and we didn't, there's a danger of more than just a small minority sort of turning on the manager? Because I mean, Celtic fans, when they're not that Celtic man like Neil Lennon, it's the manager that usually gets it in the neck.
I don't know. I think there'll be some, obviously, that will turn their back on the managers. A lot of them that didn't want them anyway. I mean, I don't think anybody wanted Ange to be the Celtic manager, to be honest. But like you, I've listened to him speak. I've listened to his interviews, his press conferences. I think comes across so far as a very decent guy that just loves football, and he's got an idea about how his team's going to play. And as I say, for 60 minutes against Bristol City, I thought it looked alright, but there was an obvious lack of quality there. But if you go out, people need somebody to blame. It's just the way it goes, and it'll probably be the board this time. I think this happened over the last 2 years. When they, I don't want to harp back onto this, but when they gave the job to Lennon 2 years ago, you seen a shift, because if you're on Twitter, you think everybody's against the board, because that's what it looks like. It's a bit of an echo chamber. But the board probably had more people supporting it than didn't, because, as I say, we were on 7-8 in a row at a time and we're winning, trebles. But when they gave the job to Lennon, it was a real change in attitude towards fans and the board, whereas we all had done it. I mean, it was certainly a change for me, because I was like, well, fuck them from now on, because they've intentionally and deliberately weakened us ahead of what will be the most important two seasons of Celtic's history, nearly. So I think if a lot of my fans are switched on now in terms of blaming the board if things go wrong, and it's definitely them. I mean, we said it when the Howe thing came out, that whoever the next guy is not going to be as good as Eddie Howe. On paper, Ange might go on to be the greatest manager we've ever had. You never know. But the next guy's on a hiding to nothing, and Ange is that guy. And if some fans will turn on him because he's no Neil Lennon. You seen that after Lennon left, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon towards the last 4 or 5 weeks with Lennon, and it was he's got to go. As soon as he went, a lot of people, it's as if they'd forgot that 2-3 weeks prior to that they were tweeting Celtic with pictures of the Lennon silhouette. Fucking every time Celtic posted a tweet, Lennon became kind of Teflon again. But so people like that think that, and they'll turn on him and he'll be a big daddy, and he should have stuck to Japan or something like that. But I think the majority of fans will say, look, he's a guy that's been fucking hoisted into a job with the team shit. It's not like we narrowly lost it the league last year. We get fucking trounced and half the team wants away, and so he's been put into he's playing it's like playing the computer with a horn tied behind your back. It's pretty fucking hard. So I think the majority of fans will see that. But if we go out the Europa League, I mean, we could go to fucking 3 tournaments before the end of August, so I think you might get away with not getting through this one, but if it gets worse, then it'll only get worse, because you only need to see what happened at them. I don't want to compare this to them, but this is what I think. When Gerrard first came in, they were shite, and I mean, they get by a couple of teams that they should have got by in Europe. I can't remember for the life of me now, but I think it was at Maribor in Osijek or something. But they get by the teams, and they were teams that, like Midtyland, that meant to prove to be a tough task, and they kind of not lucky, but they carried a lot of joy, carried a lot of fortune and get through. I think they won a couple of games, bit of goal in that, and I think McGregor saved a penalty. So if you can get that through the first tie and build momentum, it just shows you that you can actually beat these teams. But Dan said earlier that it's only going to get tougher, but if we get a bit of momentum, you never know what could happen. But to answer your question, I don't think they'll blame. He'll not get to blame for this one unless Dan's right. He does something stupid that doesn't play a striker or changes or whatever. But he's got it, because I think, Andy, am I right in saying that if we win this tie, we're at least guaranteed some form of group stage football until Christmas? Is that true? I mean, if that is true, then he gets a lot of good grace until then in terms of Europe. But if it's going shite in the league, it's only going to go one way if we don't pick up in the league.
To my understanding, Dan, maybe correct me if not, but my understanding it was that if we win that tie, it's some form of European football is guaranteed for, you see, up until the Christmas period. There's not much more we can really say, I suppose, on the game and on Celtic, because you can't really judge pre-season friendlies, and let's be honest, we've not done enough business that we're really happy with or that we should have done. I'll go to you first, Dan. Do you want to, obviously asking you to predict that team was like asking you to predict a lot of the numbers, to be honest with you, but do you want to give me even just players that you want to see feature and give a prediction for the score?
I think it's difficult. I know Celtic have got a history for being underprepared, but it's even trying to pick who will play is trickier than you'd think. But I like Barkas. I know I'm not trying to make excuses for him last season, because a lot of the time we did look tiny in the goals, but I thought the Preston game especially yesterday made a few good saves the first half. I played Barkas. I can't see Urigidi getting put to right back at us. As much as I don't want Ralston to play, I think he will. I think it'll be Welsh. I'd play Urigidi or Beaton just because Beaton's not played much, and I'm not Beaton's biggest fan, so especially with him not being 100% fit, I wouldn't be playing him. Greg Taylor out the left, then I don't know, in midfield, like you say, you've got McGregor and Turnbull, but who do you go from there? Do you just play, I know Sorrow's not been played as much as you'd like either, so I don't know. I think maybe Liam Shaw will be in there, so I'd put him in. I think he's been pretty good in pre-season. I'd probably just throw the boy Abada in at right wing if he's the only option, if like the Forrest, Dembele and Johnson are injured, because I think that was one thing we were slowly lacking last season, was having wingers. And as I mentioned earlier, I'd play Edward out in the left and play a Jetty up top, and I think the defence is obviously the shakiest part of that team I've gave you, but as I said earlier, I don't think Midtyland are much to fear, and if I know a lot of people's expecting us to get beat, but I'm not going to be utterly surprised if we come out of this and win 2-0 or something on Tuesday, especially with it being at Celtic Park. Don't get me wrong, it's got potential to be a terrible result if Midtyland turn up, and you've got the added benefit that away goals won't really hurt us anymore because they've been done away with. So the fact that you've got that second leg to sort of bounce back on and be there is like, it should help us. In 9,000 in the ground, I know it's I know people have been tweeting from the pod account, it's a pretty pathetic number that they've given us compared to what you've seen at other events, especially just ones at Hampden in that way that have had more than that. But 9,000's like it's a noticeable crowd. It's like, I know 2,000 made a good bit of noise at the pressing game, but 9,000's got to be considerably more effective, I would think. So I think that will give Celtic a bit of an edge, and You know what? I actually think we will come out with a 2-0 win. How the away leg will go, I don't know. But I am pretty confident. I think Midtyland won't be up to much, and I think we might actually just be pretty alright on Tuesday, and then we'll start to worry about the next round if we do progress through this thing.
What about you, Danny? Anything different or any massive curveballs like the centre half that we had on loan to Ross County maybe starting for you? Or?
I mean, if you're good enough, you're old enough. What is he, 16? Only seen bits of him and I thought he looked really good, but maybe a bit too early. But then he played first team football at Ross County. I know did they get relegated? No, they didn't. So he's obviously not the worst. I know Big Yogi thinks he's the next Van Dijk, but it'd be good to see him maybe progress into a team. I think Dembele getting injured last week, which was a fucking terrible tackle, by the way, for a friendly on him. He'd have been in the team. He's looked good in this pre-season. For what I've seen, he's looked nifty and hungry, and every time he gets the ball, he's trying to make something happen. And I'm gutted that he got injured because I think he would have walked into the team. I don't think there'll be many curveballs. He might play. I think in midfield he might go McGregor, Turnbull and Shaw and then play two. He might play the new boy with, but then who does he play in the other one? Because Forrest and that are injured, so he might play Christie. He might just bring in Christie for the sake that Christie's an experienced player. And Christie had a bad year last year, but and it wasn't just a bad year. It was probably a very, very bad year, but he still got it in him to produce moments of quality. I don't know what. I like the way he started. He scored a few goals and he looks in good shape, and he looks like he's going to at least fight for his place this year. We don't need to talk about other strikers at a club that are unavailable at the minute, but the back of scoring, Celtic will win 1-0. And then we'll see what happens in the away leg.
I think it's probably a bit of conundrum. I actually get the feeling he's going to take a Marius Ryan into ball and goal than he does Taylor, because I think Bolly will probably suit his football better, being obviously more an attacking minded sort of fullback than probably Greg Taylor is. But again, I don't know if it'd be too soon for him to start, but I reckon they might go with McGregor, Sorrell and Turnbull in the middle of the park, and I do agree I could see Christie coming in because I thought Dembele would have been a cert to play. Again, he's injured, Forrest is injured, Johnston's injured. We were already thin on wingers as it was when Lennon had shunned Dembele, and Johnston and Forrest were injured last season, so it's just too soon, I think, for that Abada to play 90 minutes really. I'd be very surprised if he did, although I pray to God that he's fit enough today and he can do it, because we need as much as we can get. But I'd assume it'd be that midfield three, and I could probably see Christie featuring in some way, whether it's sort of after right coming in or something. Like Angel have done his homework. He'll know where players have played before and sort of systems that have been tried and tested in the last sort of couple of years or whatever with Celtic. So we'll be well aware. I've got no doubts of that, and I reckon we might see some players in positions like that. Obviously, Christie has been tried out there before, but in terms of the game, I say that something tells me we might sneak past them, because I don't think they're a great side. I reckon we might win 2-0 at home and get a proper. Obviously, we'll come on to the game next week, and my answer will probably change when we preview that game. But I reckon we'll probably win 2-0 at home and maybe get a 0-0 there. But it's anything they want to add? Or?
There's no away goals. There's no away goals now, so you don't need to panic if Midtyland score after 10 minutes.
Nobody's shouting themselves in.
Just on Midtyland, I know they've got a decent pedigree. They're owned by the guy that owns Brentford, and they're into their analytics and all that. And they're off Scottish. So I think they're, you know what you get with Scandinavian teams. They might not be great, but they're not going to be easy to beat, and they'll be tough. They will be tough opponents, but they get beat the other night. I don't think you should respect them, of course, because, as I say, they'll be tough to beat. They'll honour their role, and they've got a few decent players now. But we know about Suichenko, and I'd like to think that they'll have a plan to get by them. But I don't know. Dan's right. Some people just get beat as it is, and we're not in great shape. But there's no away goal to worry about. So used to be ending 0 was a good result in Europe for Celtic.
So when we're 3-0 down, don't worry, we only need to score 3 and then
score 3 there next week. So I mean, it's all right, but it actually adds an interesting dynamic, that, because it could play into our favour, because Midtyland might just come and sit for a 0-0 and take it back to their place, which might suit us, because I don't want to say it loud, but a team that turns up to Parkhead and fancying against us could do some damage in the current state we're in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because guaranteed Midtyland will score early on and everybody will be like, right, we need to get 4-3 next week now. But it'll add something different to it. I'm kind of interested to see how Midtyland play, because, as I've said, if they fancy it and they're decent, then, you know, in the state we're in, it might get away from us. But if they come in and just sit, and it could play to our advantage, because you know what it's like, you can grow in confidence during the game, and as Dan quite rightly said, we've got a lot of quality in that team. McGregor's a fantastic player. Yeti has shown that he can put the ball in the net, so hopefully they turn up for a draw and get humped.
I hope you're right. As you said, there is quality in our team. I already mentioned that Evander, I think, is the threat that you need to stop. But we can only wait and see, really. I think it's probably one of the most difficult Celtic games I've seen us go into. But hopefully we come out with a positive result. And like you say, no having an away goal to worry about. It's a big change, and it's something that will be unfamiliar to a lot of people, and probably some people won't even be aware of it. But I'm looking forward to it. So, any parting comments?
Just in case you've missed it, go to our YouTube if you want to catch up with the fan media chats with Leo Abada, and there's also, I think since we've been on, we've had the one with Liam Shaw and Urugide. So just in case you're not on there, we've only been able to ask one question at the press conferences. That's why we've not released them as individual episodes. But it's good content. Just search for 4 Tims in a podcast on YouTube and you'll find them there.
God bless Big Ange.
Good luck to Big Ange and his competitive debut. Hope the 9,000 that are there make a lot of noise for him, and the players, some of the players as well that are there have not played under a crowd like that, so even though it's no foul, and we'll get there soon, hope the 9,000 that are there cheer the team on there a good win.
I don't ever want to hate you, so don't show me your bed. The only roads are cul-de-sacs, the first thing that she said. Temptation grease you like your naughty mate, the one that used to get you in bother, but one you could never bring yourself to hate. And she said, we've got that spark, but only lights a fuse, helps you see in the dark, but it's a sight you'll lose when the temptation grease you like your naughty friend. I don't ever want to hate you, so don't show me your bed. The only roads are cul-de-sacs, the only ends are dead. Temptation grease you like your naughty mate, the one that made you steal and set things on fire, the one you haven't seen of late. And after that kind of talk only adds intrigue to the cauldron of thought that's already exceeding temptation, the very thing that held her back. I don't ever want to hate you, so don't show me your bed. The only roads are cul-de-sacs, the only ends are dead. I don't ever want to hate you, it's not part of the plan. So keep your charm where I can't see it, and your hands where I can.
Yo, it's Rasket Dirty Stanky. Yeah, we used to be tight, me and my naughty friends. Cause pure madness in the air.